more than a majority of the council in attendance. Would all of you please rise and join me in the salute to the flag? Place your hands over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Allison Andrew from Annabeth Jackson's office.
You should know that we have several elected officials and their representatives here. So just stand up, and we don't need to do a lot of clapping. We don't clap in our council a lot, but just stand up and wave so people will know you're here. Vice Mayor Kevin Kildee, Council Member Jan McDonald, Council Member Mike Morgan. Tony Tremblay is at a hearing, I believe.
That's correct, Madam Mayor.
He's an attorney. Supervisor Kelly Long, Supervisor John Zaragoza, representing Assemblymember Jackie Irwin is Jeanette Sanchez Palacios, or somebody else. And representing State Senator Hannah-Beth Jackson is Allison Maginot. Good for you. Thank you. I'm sorry I didn't have your name written down. And of course up here we have Ventura County Sheriff Jeff Dean, who's also an elected official. So here's the order of the events for the evening. The people up here are going to explain what the governor's proposal is that's in the budget for the upcoming year for the Ventura Fire Camp, is what I think it's called. After they explain, then you can ask your questions or you can make comments. All public comments will be on this issue tonight, but the comments and the questions will be made after the full presentation has been made. And if you're interested in asking a question or making a comment, there are 3 ways you can do it. You can fill out a blue card if you'd like to come up and speak to us, go to the mic and speak. If you have a question but really aren't interested in standing at the microphone, fill out a white card. All of the cards will go in the box right up here by the podium. The city clerk will give them to me, and I will ask the questions on the white card. So I'm asking people to please use your best handwriting. In addition to that, if you aren't interested in having your question or your comment, mainly your comment, being made here tonight in public, but want to get your message to somebody, fill out a yellow card. It's called a non-verbal comment card. These cards will then be assembled, and we'll get all of the comments on these cards to the people up here, not tonight, but at later this week. So those are the 3 ways you'll be able to ask a question or make a comment. So we thank all of these staff members from coming down. I think they came from Sacramento to be with us tonight and to explain the program, to answer our questions. So I'm going to introduce everybody up here, and then as their part of the program comes up, they will, you'll know who's talking. There's Chief Ken Pimlott, Director of CAL FIRE. Ralph Diaz, Undersecretary of the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, otherwise known as CDCR. Amy Cameron, Chief Deputy Director of the California Conservation Corps, or the CCC. Jerry Powers, Director of Adult Parole. And, of course, Sheriff Jeff Dean. So for your reference also, there are 2 maps up on the screen showing the location of what we'll be talking about. And so I'm going to turn it over to Chief Ken Pimlott from CAL FIRE to kick off the explanation of the program, and I'll be back after you finish.
Well, thank you, Mayor, and I also want to thank
Ventura County and the other representatives that are here, as well as the community, for spending the evening with us. Basically, I'm going to spend a few minutes providing a quick overview of the proposal, and then we've got sort of a team presentation between Amy Cameron at the Conservation Corps and Jerry Powers at Parole. And then, of course, as Mayor said, we'll turn it back over, and I'm happy to walk through questions. So, as I think you're aware, in the governor's proposed budget that came out January 10th is a proposal to repurpose the Ventura, what's currently now titled the Ventura Conservation Camp. And as you know, that is the facility that is co-operated between the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection, CAL FIRE, and the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. That facility, Ventura Conservation Camp, is one of 43 conservation camps throughout California that is a partnership between the two agencies, providing inmate firefighting and conservation workers throughout the state, and not only in response to fires like the Thomas Fire here this past fall, but doing work, conservation work, fire prevention, fuels treatment, all of that throughout the state. The proposal, as you have read and seen, is to transition Ventura Conservation Camp to what is now being titled, in the proposal, Ventura Training Center. And that will ultimately transition up to 80 parolees that will participate in this program. They will transition into the camp or the training center 20 participants at a time. These participants will be selected through our existing conservation camp program as these individuals are identified with a parole date, and will be selected with recommendations from both the CAL FIRE staff at these various facilities, but also in connection and cooperation with the Department of Corrections staff. These will be, again, the cream of the crop, if you will, of the folks that have been campers for their time in the program, and who have displayed exemplary performance in their duties. Obviously, working certainly as incarcerated felons, but they are in this program and serving the state in firefighting and other work. So they'll be hand selected. The first set of 20 will then come into the camp, and then they will receive and begin to initiate 6 months of training and education. It will include training on life skills, mentoring, all of the things necessary, again, to ensure successful life after working in the conservation camp program, but then also transition them into a variety of training regimens, including the firefighting skills and testing and experience that meets the State Fire Marshal Firefighter 1 certification level. When they've completed that first 6 months, then they will actually become part of a firefighting hand crew. They will spend 12 months working out on the exact same projects that the inmate firefighters are working on now, all of the fuels reduction, all of that preparation work. But they will also be part of the statewide system responding to wildland fires, flood fighting, all of the activities that the crews do now in the adult inmate program. So then the next set of inmates will then transition out as the next set of parolee participants transition in. So there will be no reduction in the amount of firefighting forces and crew work and capacity at the facility. For over the course of a year, the participants in the parolee program will be co-located with the adult inmates as the next wave of participants from the parolee program transition in. The next wave of adult inmates will then transition out and go back and repopulate other crews, critical staffing from around the state to staff up additional hand crews in other areas of the state, or make whole hand crews that are short inmates around the state. So at no time will the community be short these critical crew resources, again, that were so instrumental in the firefight here on the Thomas, but as well as moving around the state to deal with the challenges we face with unprecedented conditions. So again, this will occur. There'll be training. They will be also partnering with the California Conservation Corps, as Amy will talk about. There will be opportunities for California Conservation Corps members to train at the same facility, receive the same training. This is also a location where we're going to centralize training for all of the California Conservation Corps firefighters that will then deploy out to the various camps that staff with Conservation Corps members around the state. So we're utilizing this one facility to be able to provide consistent training to all of our hand crew firefighters in the California Conservation Corps program, as well as the Parolee firefighting program participants.
Excuse me. Our own fire chief will not allow us to have people standing in front of the door. There are a lot of seats up here, so I'm going to ask everybody in front of the doors to please move over to one side or another. I'm sorry.
That's okay. No, I do not want to get crossways with the fire chief. So the process, again, upon approval of the budget, July 1st, the process would begin to prepare the facility with the anticipation that the first set of 20 participants would arrive at the facility beginning October 1st and begin their training regimen. And so ultimately, again, this will facilitate 80 participants for a total of 4 20-person crews, and then they will cycle through again after their 18 months in the program, 6 months of training education and 12 months of performing work out as a firefighting hand crew, while at the same time working through getting education, working through high school diplomas if that's needed by the participant, and be provided with a variety of job skills. Yes, and the end of the day, and I know this is the piece that is obviously has where a lot of the questions are coming from, and certainly understandably, at the end of this 18-month program, these individuals will have their State Fire Marshal Firefighter 1 certification. They will have a basic first aid emergency medical services certification. That's the basic level of emergency medical service training. And they will have mentorship on how to apply for jobs, not only in the fire service, but certainly other jobs along the way as they work back out into the community. At the end of the day, we recognize the firefighting profession is highly sought after, and there are many, many more applicants for every position. That's certainly understood. And at the end of the day, the governor's proposal believes in leveling the playing field for these individuals, but not guaranteeing them employment at the end. There is still a significant responsibility on behalf of the participants to interview, to provide the effort and work they need to do to be successful in employment. And I also recognize that certainly many, if not most, fire departments throughout California utilized a variety of different forms of background checks, as well as utilized the emergency medical technician certification as the base standard for level of EMS service. And that does require background check and has, disqualifications or requirements relative to felony backgrounds. Can't guarantee that all fire departments have that, and certainly CAL FIRE uses EMT as our desired qualification, but we do not have a minimum requirement as an emergency medical technician, and we in fact have had a number of individuals coming out of the conservation camp program that have been very successful in long careers, working their way up even to the rank of battalion chief at CAL FIRE, having come from the conservation camp program. But again, certainly not going to sit here and talk before you and say that those aren't certainly challenges that are within the program that we are working through. We're working very closely with a number of folks to identify, where there could be these opportunities and things that we can do to work on some of those certifications. So that's really the basic overview in a nutshell. I think I'd like to turn it over to Chief Deputy Director Amy Cameron from the Corps to talk about that perspective.
Hi, my name is Amy Cameron. I'm the Chief Deputy Director of the California Conservation Corps. I'd like to echo Chief Pimlott's sentiments, thanking you all for coming out and joining us this evening. I'd like to thank the mayor and the city staff for noticing an additional city council meeting this month for us and doing all the work associated with having an additional meeting. So for those who are not familiar, the California Conservation Corps is a workforce development program for 18 to 25-year-olds, and we teach workforce development through conservation and emergency work throughout California. For those looking at the map, We are located here in Camarillo. We have 26 sites throughout California, but we've been in existence in Camarillo since 1977. Not necessarily at this facility, and we are in the upper right quadrant of this map. Thank you very much. And our core program will not be changing with this additional program. We will stay the same. We will still be located at that facility. It will still just be traditional California Conservation Corps members, 18 to 25-year-olds, on that facility. Our role with this program that we are happy to participate in with CDCR, DAPO, and CAL FIRE is we will, in essence, be the administrative arm of this program. We will be doing the registration paperwork, the payroll, health benefits, workers' comp, uniforms, basic PPE, and other services associated with running a program like this. This is something that we do for 1,400 other Corps members throughout California, and so we will fold this program into our existing administrative work. In addition, as Chief Pimlott mentioned, we will have the opportunity to send 20 Corps members to participate in the firefighting certification courses. This is a really exciting opportunity for our Corps members and will allow them to get certifications that will make them more competitive, not only with CAL FIRE, but U.S. Forest Service and other local municipalities looking to hire firefighters. So we are very excited about this opportunity. In addition, we will also be collaborating with our partner, which is a charter school, John Muir Charter School, and they will be providing educational services for any participant that does not have a high school diploma or equivalent. This is a current requirement of all Corps members that if you do not have a high school diploma, after you work on the grade all day, you must go to school 4 nights a week, totaling 10 hours in the classroom and then 20 hours on the grade towards your credits. So this has been a very successful program, and we will also be collaborating with our partner to provide that service over at the Ventura Training Center. And with that, I will turn it over to Jerry Powers with DAPO, and he'll tell you about his side.
Good evening. Thank you for having me, as everyone has said. I will be fairly brief. I'm responsible for, or my staff will be responsible for the 80 parolees that will occupy the training facility. I'd be more than happy to answer questions about that population. As Chief Pimlott said, we anticipate those 80 parolees will come from the 3,500 or so who are currently in the fire camp program or who have recently been released from that fire camp program. They'll be nominated by CAL FIRE personnel and CDCR institutional staff and referred to the program. My staff will be involved in supervising the individuals while they're in the facility and providing them overall case management services, facilitating transportation for them to job interviews, to training sessions, things like that. And my staff will also be responsible for drug testing as well as those types of program compliance requirements. Additionally, my staff will be involved in screening the individuals. Just to give you an idea of what that population looks like that is in our fire camps in CDCR, about 13% of the individuals who come out of the fire program at CDCR have a high school diploma or GED. What that means is about 87% of them don't. This is a population that has worked sometimes at great personal peril in our communities throughout the state to save homes, structures, schools, you name it. And some of them have done it for a year or more and for, frankly, very little money. They get sentence credits, reductions in their sentences. But as they left the program, there really wasn't any way to continue in that service. And the proposal here is to give them at least an opportunity to come out spend 18 months in this program. During the course of the 18 months, they're going to receive a stipend, a monthly stipend of $1,900. They're going to get their room and board. Some of the concerns that we've had expressed to us with respect to the program, whether it was from the LAO's office or frankly in our meeting here a couple weeks ago with the electeds, has been questions about, is this an evidence-based program? Is there any proof that this kind of program can work? Frankly, no one else is doing this program. This is a unique program. This will be a unique program. And so we do know, though, that there are components of the program that are evidence-based. If you can provide housing, if you can provide employment opportunities for meaningful employment, you reduce recidivism. About 60% of the population in our fire camps, and frankly in the rest of the institutions in CDCR, are what we term high-risk, high-need individuals. When they come out, they don't have stable housing. They don't have ready employment. They are undereducated, as I said, with the 13% GED or high school diploma rate. So this is an 80-bed program, 80 participants. It's a one-of-a-kind opportunity. No one else is doing this. And we will have 2 parole agents there who will work very closely with the 80 individuals. They will be held to strict standards. Some of the feedback that we did receive at our prior meeting down here was questions about, would we do substance abuse testing? Yes, we will be doing random drug testing. Would we be able to make certain areas off limits? My response to that was I didn't see a reason for these program participants to be in residential neighborhoods so that we could make those areas off limits. Understanding that these are parolees at the end of the day, and they're not in custody. They're in a training program. They're not in a locked down program. They will have a curfew. They'll be required to come back to the facility. You heard Amy talk about the 10 hours per week of education. They're going to be in Chief Pimlott's training class during the day. There's not going to be a lot of free time in this program for these individuals. But we will monitor them. I guess I would hold the rest of my comments for questions. I'm sure some of you have questions relative to the population, and I will pass it back to the mayor.
Okay, so the presentation has been completed. Okay, and so now it's time for us to have the questions and comments, but before that, I'm going to repeat, because we've had quite a few people come in since I last said it. We have 3 ways that you can ask questions. If you'd like to come to the microphone, you need to fill out a card and put it in the box beside the podium, and we will then call you up, and you make the comments or the questions. If you have a comment or a question if you have a comment or a question and do not want to come to the microphone but would like somebody else to ask it for you, fill out this in handwriting that I'm going to be able to read and put this card in the same box, and I will read the question. If you would like to make what we call a nonverbal comment, fill out this yellow one and put it in there, and we will make sure that all of these people get these. We won't be able to do it tonight before they leave, but we'll get the comments or questions to them by the end of the week. So I want to give you the rest of the ground rules, and these are our standard ground rules here in the Camarillo City Council chambers. As I call your name, each person will have 3 minutes. I tightly enforce the 3-minute rule. We have 2 clocks. I can see a clock. You can see a clock. When it first starts, there's a green light up at top, and it counts down to 1 minute. When it gets to 1 minute, there's a tone, and then a yellow light will show. And when it gets down to 0, a red light comes on, and I will then ask you to stop if you haven't stopped by then. And if you don't stop, you know there's a trap door. It just opens up and you go on down. Additionally, We respect every person's right to express his opinion or to get his own or her own question asked. We need to know how every person here feels or what all of your questions are. And for that reason, we do not allow clapping, cheering, yelling, booing, or any other way of trying to inhibit or intimidate a speaker. We just don't allow that. So with all that being said, the first speaker, the first card I received was from Supervisor John Zaragoza. And the elected officials are going to be held to the 3-minute rule, too.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I already changed her name. Mayor Craven, guest, council members, staff, and members of the audience. I'm Supervisor John Zaragoza from the County of Ventura. With me is my staff member, Rod Thorpe. I represent the 5th District, which is most of Oxnard, Nyland Acres, Strickland Acres, and El Rio. I have some general comments I'd like to share with you. I am very, very concerned, extremely concerned about the Parolee Fire Training Program that's been planned for the CAL FIRE facility located at 2800 Wright Road here in Camarillo, without any input from the local communities. The addition of this Parolee camp will affect numerous neighborhoods in my district, specifically Nyland Acres, a small community of 3,000 individuals that include 1,000 youth that are under 18 years of age. In fact, Mayor, there is a little Boys and Girls Club that we have there too. And let me reiterate also, there are several Camarillo neighborhoods that are close to the proximity of this facility that are going to be affected as well. I'm very concerned about the safety of our constituents that live nearby the CC Corps. Members will be interacting with parolees that are going to be housing the adult parolees in close proximity with male and female offenders that are under the age of 18. They also concern me tremendously. Other options are available, as my understanding, that Amador County location in Northern California, which doesn't have the same safety issues as Ventura County, does seem to me to be the most practical facility other than the Camarillo one. I'm concerned that this program is being rushed into existence without the proper study to determine the true benefit of the parolees and the participants. The best location for this to be used would be in some other location. The cost of housing, my understanding, and training will be well over $80,000 per parolee. The firefighting labor market is very, very competitive, and the jobs are extremely limited. Could this money be used to train individuals with other skills that be more suited for employment? Finally, I believe that the Legislative Analyst's Office recommends that they reject this program. I'm trying to beat the clock here. I'm very, very concerned, and I believe that this proposal it's in the wrong location. And also, I had a special meeting with one of my neighborhoods over Nyland Acres, the Nyland Center, and also with the MAC program, and they're totally against this program. Thank you so much.
Thank you, John Zaragoza, for keeping your comments right to the 3 minutes. Next card I have is from Kelly Long.
Hello, thank you very much, Mayor Craven. My name is Kelly Long. I'm your supervisor for District 3. Part of that district is Camarillo. Previously, Supervisor John Zaragoza and I submitted a letter to this Senate Budget Committee stating our concerns for the county. And also last Thursday, we came up and spoke at the Senate budget hearing on those concerns, along with Mayor Craven and Assistant Sheriff Bill Ayub. I'd like to today reiterate the concerns that we have for this fire camp. I think you coming here today, and I want to thank every single one of you, even those down here, for understanding the need to come and collaborate on this. If it does not continue, we need to make sure that we're collaborating and putting the checks and balances in place, because this is not just affecting this one location, but it affects the cities and also the county with it, because it's not just 80 people that are there. It's also the visitors that come, just the ins and outs of everything that goes along. It would be hard to state that you can see this in just a small environment. You have to see it in the environment. And looking, we also have 2 fire training camps here, and they graduate 100 a year with an effective rate of about 40% of going to higher. That cost is about $5,000. Roughly, this cost is about $80,000. And as you can see by the taxpayers behind us, that is of great concern, is to make sure that our government is spending the money in the correct manner. One, also for efficiency, but also to ensure that these 80 parolees will be successful at 18 months and 1 day. When they leave, where will they go? If only 30 to 40%, where will they go? So we want you to work with the county on workforce development. If this was to go ahead, we'd like you to look at the LOA or LAO report, because I think the success of the community is extremely important. If this program was elsewhere, or there were scholarships to ensure that they were actually training within their cities to make sure that they have that family support, I think there's alternatives that we should be looking at, that we should be also looking for labor markets that aren't saturated. We need to build these 80 parolees the best we can. And I'm asking you, is this really the best we can do? And so I appreciate you being here. We'll be at the Senate meeting again to state other concerns as they pop up. And we also want to make sure that the GED look at having that before it goes into the camp. I think that'll be important as well. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to ask the city clerk if there are more cards. Jeannie Lee. Just pull the microphone down so that we can hear you. Thank you.
I usually don't have trouble being heard.
But we have a television audience, and they can't hear what's said in
But
here.
I probably don't even need a microphone. First of all, I'd like to say that I was a probation officer for Orange County Probation for 9 years. And I believe that people can be rehabilitated, or I wouldn't have done that job for as many years as I did. And I have a concern about the fear factor that seems to be evident in comments that I've heard on my neighborhood website, the email website that we have. And they don't seem to be based in any real facts other than we are afraid of having parolees in our neighborhood. And one of the things that I wanted to just verify is that parolees are already in the firefighting program. Is that correct? Is that correct? There are already parolees in the firefighting program?
In custody?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they will be parolees. They're prisoners at that point.
But did you not say that there have been parolees working on fires throughout California as a part of this program, or did I get that wrong?
No, I think I can answer. This program is new, hasn't been done, but I did indicate that there are a number of individuals on their own who were parolees that went on to firefighting careers.
Okay. And when I read the letter from the mayor to Governor Brown, one of the things that I saw in there was that the recidivism rates are between 60 and 70% statewide. I'm thinking that's not the recidivism rate for a program like this or for other parolee programs. Do you have any statistics on that?
No one's done this program before, so I can't give you.
I understand that, but I'm saying you have other programs
Sure.
that parolees are involved in,
Sure.
and if they have those kinds of programs, is the recidivism rate as high?
Well, the recidivism rate that was cited in the letter, I think, came from CDCR's website. You have two different data points. You have PRCS, which is the local ones, and then you have the CDCR parolee which is actually lower than the number that was cited in the letter.
Because my experience as a probation officer was that people reoffend because, for one of the reasons they do, is because they don't have the skills to leave custody, go out, find a job that's going to support them and their family, and that then causes some of the rates of recidivism to go higher. So the point that I want to make is that if everybody said, not in my neighborhood, then there wouldn't be any programs anywhere for people like this. And what we would have is people to come out of prison, not to have a skill, not to have a way to find work, and so they would reoffend. And I would like people to consider that as well when you consider all of this. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for respecting our time limit. I have one card, and it has some questions that I think can be answered in pretty short terms. So I'll ask it, and in the meantime, I'll call Miguel Garcia to please come up, and would you just stand there and wait until he answers these questions that I'm asking. So the first, or so somebody answers them. The first question is, what time is the curfew?
We haven't. I keep forgetting to push the button. We haven't established all of the program rules yet, but I would anticipate that you'd have a curfew of somewhere around 10 o'clock.
Are there any sex offenders that would be in this program?
No, they're excluded.
Are any illegal aliens? I'm sorry, we're not laughing. Each person can ask his question. When you come up, we won't do anything here. We just don't allow comments for questions or comments.
I'm not aware that we would screen based on citizenship.
Okay. Will this affect the school bus stop at Wright Road in Beardsley?
I think that's a local question.
Okay. Miguel?
Thank you. Thank you, community leaders and community members, for allowing me to speak today. My name is Miguel Garcia. I'm from the Anti-Recidivism Coalition. I was discharged from Ventura Youth Correctional Facility 4 years ago, and I've participated in the programs that were offered through the CDCR Juvenile Justice Division, and was able to successfully re-enter and not recidivate. In the time of my back in the community, I was able to receive 3 associate degrees, most recently my bachelor's degree from UC Riverside, and in the coming year I will be participating in law school as a first-year law school student. I just want to go ahead and highlight that programs such as these that allow us to get job skills, job training, the mentorship, the counseling, and a successful way to re-enter society is beneficial. I am just one of the many examples that are able to achieve success, and I'm just asking for an opportunity for those that are just looking and searching for one. Thank you.
I had a question sent to me. Is CAL FIRE aware of any local fire agency in the state which has expressed support for this training program, or which has stated that it will consider hiring firefighters who graduate from this program?
CAL FIRE obviously has been talking to a number of the fire chiefs from around California, and I think many are waiting to see what the program looks like, but there have certainly been none specifically that have come out and said they would or wouldn't hire from the program.
Ramon, I think this is Leha? Leha? Okay. I should have brought my glasses. Do they work?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and distinguished officials. My name is Ramon Leja, and I'm a UCR student, nationally certified EMT, California State certified phlebotomist. I'm a youth mentor, and I'm also a volunteer reserve firefighter 1, all-risk municipal department. And I'm also formerly incarcerated who paroled out of the Ventura Youth Correctional Facility fire camp back in 2010. And I just want to talk about my experience within the fire camp. I remember not really sure what I was getting myself into when I was, transitioning from facility to facility and ended up at the fire camp. And it wasn't until I was involved in the Jesucita fire out in Santa Barbara where it seemed, it just looked really hellish as far as how all the houses were burning up and everything. But something that really caught my attention and really helped me to change my perspective was how much the community was appreciative of our work, regardless of where we were coming from. You know, they held out signs, they tried to offer us, you know, water, support, whatever it is that they can offer us, but unfortunately, because of our situation, we weren't able to accept any of that. But, and that's what really sparked my eye and really helped me to see and encourage me to, you know, change my perspective in life and find my calling, which was to give back to my community, and also sparked my interest in pursuing a career in the fire service. When I returned home after my time, I returned home with the direction or the motivation to continue getting my fire education. So I enrolled into the community college and started taking fire technology classes. And then I was offered a position with the Mountains Recreation Conservation Authority in conjunction with the LA Conservation Corps, which is actually stationed right down the way in Calabasas. I did that for about a year, and I was out while on parole, fighting fires and serving the communities of the surrounding area. And as soon as I got a better experience and information from being out, I returned back home and got my EMT, went through the fire academy, began with the volunteer reserve program within my home county, and I started realizing the difficulties of getting employment within the fire service because of my given situation. So luckily, because of all the education I was able to get, I had enough credits to transfer to a four-year university where I'm at now. And my hopes is my pursuit in getting into the fire service is still alive and well. But if not, then I will be pursuing a law degree so that I can help change some of these policies that are affecting some of these people. And I just want to highlight how much the program meant to me. It helped me to change my perspective in life, gave me value, and also helped me develop a great work ethic that I still pursue and still apply to my everyday life now. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Gary Cushing.
Thank you, Mayor Craven. You know, looking at this and you hear the stories about people that have come out of here and they've been successful, that's great. But now you're going to be pumping a lot more people out. And the thing is, I see from a business standpoint that at the end of 18 months, wouldn't it be better to have taught them skills of jobs that are really needed in California? We have a huge need for CNC machinists, machine operators, welders, that make about $50 an hour, okay? And when we go to city business visits, people are screaming that they need this type of labor. I just think it would be giving them false hope of getting employment that there's such competition for getting firefighter jobs. I mean, you mentioned that when you go for a municipality job, it's what, 1,000 to 1 that show up for jobs. So, and then the amount of money, $26 billion to kick off this program and $80,000 per person, I think that money could be well spent in training them into jobs that they're going to really be able to use right out of school. Okay? And thank you. And Jeff, we haven't heard from you at all yet, sir.
Giving everybody their time.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sally Starr.
I'm going to decline to speak. Our supervisor has spoken for.
Okay. Morgan Culbertson.
Hi, everybody. My name is Morgan Culbertson. I'll be really quick. I just wanted to identify myself. I'm here on behalf of State Senator Henry Stern, who represents a good chunk of Ventura County as well as part of Los Angeles County. So I'm also here as a person with two parents who live in Camarillo. Our office is paying attention to this program rolled out, and we really appreciate the presentations from everyone on the dais and for all of you as well. So Morgan Culbertson, if anyone wants to get in touch with our office or has anything else moving forward, I'm here for that. So thank you so much.
Thank you for identifying yourself, and I apologize for not introducing you. I didn't know you were coming. We have another council member who had some questions he submitted. Tony Tremblay. I will tell you, because you came in from your hearing after I explained the rules, you will be limited to 3 minutes just as everybody else.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
And I say that to an attorney.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Tony Tremblay, current council member for the City of Camarillo. And first of all, kudos to CAL FIRE. They are our heroes. I spent 2 days last week in Sacramento, though, lobbying against this proposal specifically. And my questions really are for Chief Pimlott. And Chief, you've done hiring of firefighters before, correct?
Absolutely.
And you've done hiring of all-risk municipal firefighters as opposed to wildland firefighters, correct?
Hired all of the above, yeah.
Okay, so let's take a hypothetical. Let's assume as CAL FIRE's chief, you're evaluating the application of one newly certified firefighter who possesses an EMT certification and has no felony record versus one parolee graduate of the proposed program. Let's just assume that to be the case. What specific attributes in an applicant would make you advise the California Department of Human Resources, which does the actual hiring, to extend a job offer to the felony parolee applicant over an applicant with no criminal record?
Very good question. First off, the Department of California HR actually delegates the hiring to CAL FIRE, so I or my delegates make the hiring decisions. I am looking at a number of factors. As I indicated in the beginning, the EMT certification for CAL FIRE is a desired qualification and certainly is something that most of our firefighters have. But I'm looking for a broad suite of skill sets that these individuals bring to the table, work ethic, experience that many of these firefighters have had already out on the fire line as conservation camp fire crew members. I'm looking for recommendations. I'm looking for the folks that have worked with these folks in the trenches. This is what we would do with anyone. As we're hiring a seasonal firefighter, our captains that do the hiring of our seasonal firefighters get lots of recommendations from the field, sponsoring individuals.
Right, and thank you for your response to that. And note that my next hypothetical, which I don't have time for, was to take dozens, if not hundreds, of folks without criminal records, without felony records, and stack them against the person who has a criminal record, and to ask you in a market that's already oversaturated with currently certified all-risk municipal firefighters, what would make you pick them? But I suspect that the answer would probably be the same. So let me just ask you one more question. Have you seen the article in the San Jose Mercury News about a CDCR inmate from last year who was unable? She was a CDCR inmate for some time, trained as an all-risk municipal firefighter, and I quote from the San Jose Mercury News. And this is written by her: "Because of my conviction, I was ineligible to work for any municipal firehouse in the Bay Area." She, unfortunately, could not get a job. What I'm concerned about here is setting people up in an 18-month program to fail, because there will be no expectation realistically of a position. So my last question is, and perhaps you can answer it in off time, is what does CAL FIRE know that local municipal firehouses, local municipal departments don't know? Thank you.
In the 3 seconds left before you came in, I talked about folks that have already been successful getting career jobs with CAL FIRE and firefighting. But happy to chat about the specifics of that after.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for respecting our time limit. Along that, you have said, this is my question. You have said, I've heard you say several times that CAL FIRE has hired many people in the past and could take some of these. But my question is, will you be, the program is to bring 80 people in every 18 months, and that's on a rotating basis, I understand, but once it gets going, every 18 months there will be 80 people who will be expected to have graduated from this or somewhere around there. Will CAL FIRE be able to take that many people?
These individuals aren't going to get hiring preference. They're going to be competing along with everyone else. And so, again, it will depend on the number of job vacancies, what the hiring process looks like. In the last 3 or 4 years, CAL FIRE has hired between 400 and 500 new seasonal firefighters every year because we've expanded operations because of the fire season conditions. But our partners at the Forest Service, the Bureau of Land Management, and many others are hiring these same kinds of individuals from our conservation camp program and going on to successful careers as well. So it won't be, again, just CAL FIRE. There are many other opportunities for wildland and municipal firefighting.
But just to make sure people understand, those 400 seasonal are not permanent jobs.
That's correct.
Okay. Next, I have Carlos De Leon.
Good evening, everyone. I am a member of the Anti-Recidivism Coalition, recently paroled. I'm here on behalf of this fire camp that they're proposing. I just want you guys to know that this is going to be an awesome program, because whether they do get hired as firefighters or not, they're going to get the education that they'll need. They're going to get their GEDs while there. Some of them may pursue college courses, such as I did, and many of the other members that are here as well. And these courses are going to help them fulfill other jobs. I work for one of the largest software companies in the United States right now, but I'm a recently parolee. Nobody at my job knows that, but nevertheless, once I came home, once I got my 3 associate degrees and other certifications through ARC, I was able to be successful. And it's no miracle, it's just people took the time. Scott and many of the other members were there for me, helped me out wherever I needed it, and helped me lead on a path toward success. So I do support this, and I think this is going to be a great opportunity for many of the men and women coming home from parole.
You're the one they brag about. Next is another council member, Mike Morgan. Mr. Morgan, you too will be limited to 3 minutes.
I understand that. Here's the trap. For those that are here, I'm not going to go over again what's been said by Mr. Zaragoza and our other supervisor and Tony Tremblay. I was a federal probation officer for 24 years and also a county PO for 4.5. I understand these programs. If I didn't think people couldn't become better, I wouldn't have been a probation officer. But I disagree with this lady back here. She was there a short time. I was there a long time. And there are a lot of them that don't make it. There's a few that do make it, and you thank them. But a lot of these gentlemen here, I'd like to, how many have your GEDs now? See, a lot of them have them already, because when I've gone to out here for this facility every year. I go out there and give out certificates and things of that nature, and they give them out left and right. The kids, I call them kids, young men, get their certificates out there. But also, I think my problem is, I think you've got this in the wrong place. There's other places throughout California that this could be appropriate to. And I do agree with the point about not all of them are going to be fire department people. They won't. But there are other jobs, like out there. There's a gentleman who got a $100,000 job when he got out of the facility because he trained on some computer technology. He got hired right away. So there might be some other jobs that these gentlemen that have a better chance of making if they don't think that they're going to be firefighters right away. It's not going to happen for a lot of you, because you heard the problem that when you go to a place and you've got you're in parole, you're not going to get a job. You got a prior record. And most parolees, and they made mistakes, yes. But again, I wouldn't believe that they couldn't rehabilitate, or I wouldn't have been a probation officer. And I'm glad to see you all here tonight supporting this, those that are part of this. There's jobs on the line. It doesn't have to be this one. But again, I think you've got them in the wrong place. And I agree with getting places you can train people in prison is a place, it's what you've got to do in this state. Not just reincarcerate all the time. But you have to have programs. And a lot of places don't. That are incarcerated. So the more programs you have, so they get training, so when they come out they have some sort of something to offer an employer. And right now there are plenty of jobs that are open. I know 2 right here in this city that have many openings and they pay well. But again, I think you've got this facility in the wrong place. There's other places throughout the state, because most of them will not be from this area. And one of the things you find when you come from prisoners come from out of the areas, of course families come to visit, other things happen. And I'm not sure where she got her facts, but when you have families come, your crime rate sometimes goes up also. And I think the sheriff can identify that one. Wherever you put a facility, a lot of times your crime rates go up. But again, good luck with this, and I'm hoping every one of these guys are successful.
Okay, I have another white card, and there are 2 questions, and I think they're probably short answer questions. The first one is, it's a comment, I guess, 2 parole officers per 80 participants. This seems less than expected. And the second part is there a mechanism in place to increase this number?
Actually, 2 for 80 is lower than what we typically utilize for our general parole population. Usually it's 1 parole agent for every 53 parolees. So this would be 1 for 40.
Thank you. We have a lot of people who came from all over Southern California, as far as I can tell from the comments, the addresses. And not everybody wrote an address down. You don't have to. This one came from Desert Hot Springs. And that seems like a long ways to come to talk to us. So I'm going to call Shanique Williams.
Good evening, everyone. As said, I'm from Riverside County. I'm from Desert Hot Springs. I would like to say thank you to the attendee from California Conservation Corp. I attended CCC in 2011 at 19 years old. It was a great program. I had my associate's degree at that time. I'm sorry, I was in school for my associate's degree, and I had my high school diploma. But thank you, guys. It changed me. I was not expecting to go into that position. It just helped me. It was at the right place at the right time because I was not sure what I wanted to do career-wise. In April of 2013, I joined the Air Force National Guards as a security forces officer. And then in May of 2013, I got my criminal justice degree and associate's degree. And I then worked as a teacher's assistant for 4.5 years for Palm Springs Unified School District. I was a supervisor of security for 4 years. And in that time, I obtained my bachelor's degree in psychology in 2016. However, also in 2016, I was sentenced to 2 years state prison as a victim of domestic violence, wrongfully convicted. Upon coming home in November of 2017, I have joined Anti-Recidivism Coalition, ARC. I am with Cut 50 Women's Dignity Campaign. I am also now a domestic violence advocate. And I just would like to say that this program will change the life of many of people. So I hear the opposing comments. It saddens my heart. It breaks my heart because I know that there is a lot of amazing people in prison. I often get, told that I don't look like I was in prison. I was. Although I was there for being wrongfully convicted, my story's not new. My story's not taboo. There are going to be people, of course, that were once upon a time guilty of their crime. But in this country, we need to start embracing rehabilitation because it's real. And I've met men and women within my organization at ARC and at Cut 50 that have changed their lives for the better. I agree with some of the comments. If we're not giving these people skills, opportunities, and jobs, then we're opening a possible door for them to, return to recidivism. But I'm just very grateful for the opportunity to be presented. I think that this is the perfect place to have this program. I think that this will be a part of history, allowing this program to be here. So thank you all for your time, and I will continue to serve my community as well as yours the best that I can.
Thank you. Mike Mishler.
Good evening. My name is Mike Mishler from here in Camarillo. And I just want to second what Tony and Gary was talking about earlier in reference to the jobs and the cost per the program. Some of my background, I knew someone who came out of the military about 10 years ago who was a firefighter in the military. That was his person's job. He came out and he was trying to get a job as a firefighter here locally, and he had a hard problem. I mean, he was in the military, trained to be a firefighter, and still had problems trying to get a job. So it's a hard, as mentioned by the chief, it's a hard business to get into. There's a lot of applicants and everything else, of course. And then I want to get back to that, and it's mentioned many times, the $80,000 plus whatever it costs to put these people through the program. That's a lot of taxpayers' money being spent. And I know people right now who are trying to go through college, and they're just barely scraping by. And no one from the government is giving them money, and they're scraping by. They're working part-time jobs. They're washing dishes literally and working in restaurants part-time and stuff, trying to scrape by and doing stuff. And if you want this program to work, you need to provide job skills that are actually usable, like Gary said, and you also need to get the cost down. You can't afford to spend $80,000 per person, every person there, that they give them an 18-month training class like this. You have to get the cost down to something that's more realistic and fair for all the taxpayers in the state. Thank you.
Thank you. Joel Aguilar.
Good evening, distinguished guests, and to the community of Camarillo. I'm not going to speak any numbers, but I do want to appeal to your humanity. My name is Joel Aguilar, and I'm also a returning citizen. I'm also a college student. I'm in a 4 years liberal arts college, and I also work full-time, so I know what it is to have a full deck. And I just want to say one thing, that this is a great opportunity. I work with a population who many are part of the Department of Juvenile Justice and were firefighters. I see these are people who are motivated. These are people who have a fire in them to really make a difference. And what I hear today is that people are scared, people are concerned, and I get it. And this is not to minimize that, but this is just to say that I am a son, that I am a father, that I am also a brother, and I want to appeal to that. Today is a great opportunity for Camarillo to be part of the solution, not just to be doers, to fulfill an individual's calling or vocation in life. It's just much more than a job. It is what he's going to do for the rest of his life. What he's going to get in this program is much more than just a job. It's much more than just a paycheck. It is values. And the values that they instill are values of integrity, are core values that our society needs. And that you get to be part of that, it's history in the making. Camarillo, please support this. Support our governor. Support this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeleni Law, or Low, I'm sorry, I don't. But you knew who I said. Just pull the microphone down, thanks.
Thank you. My name is Yaneli Law. I work with the Ventura County Arts Council, and Ventura County Arts Council have a program with the Juvenile Detention Center. My husband also gives classes there. We teach art. So we help to rehabilitate, I'm sorry for my English, the kids here. And I'm all about prevention. I have a bachelor's degree in nutrition from Mexico. And I focus in teach art and teach nutrition, but since the beginning for kids to prevent things. And I think it's good to have rehabilitation, but it should be also good to have programs that create conscience in our community about the consequences to choose the wrong things in life. And I think this program, it's an amazing program, a rehabilitation program, but could give also a second or a double meaning or message to the kids that they are working really hard to become successful, to choose the right things, to do the right, and to know that even if you choose wrong, if you get to jail, you're going to have opportunities that it might be really difficult to get in a regular person, I don't know what are the requirements for a regular person to become a fireman. So I will be more against to spend all that money in this program, and instead of that, we are experiencing a cut in the budget in the schools, for example. So the schools in Camarillo need more the money. They cut art, and art is also an important thing to prevent or to express feelings or to rehabilitate, or I don't know. There are a lot of ways that we can help since the beginning to create more conscience. And I'm confusing because I really want to help. I'm all about helping the community, but I think this is kind of a sensitive way to do it. It can give a second or a double message. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker will be Dr. Luis Garcia. While you're coming up, I have another white card. If convicted felons cannot receive an EMT, Emergency Medical Technician certification, Why would CAL FIRE support allowing convicted felons to be certified as all-risk municipal firefighters?
The EMT certification is obviously one facet of the overall training and certifications that firefighters get. I can speak certainly for CAL FIRE that we look at a cross-section of training and background. And as indicated in the beginning, CAL FIRE has employed a number of individuals that were formerly in the conservation camp program that have gone on to full careers, including moving into the upper ranks of CAL FIRE, including the battalion chief level. So again, we are certainly looking at the cross-section of the individual and what they bring to the table, with the EMT being one component.
Okay. Thank you. Dr. Garcia.
Good evening, council members, residents of the city of Camarillo. My name is Dr. Luis Garcia, and I'm a member of the Anti-Recidivism Coalition. Over 20 years ago, I was an inmate firefighter serving time in Camp 18 Ishi, located in Tehama County. As a young convicted felon, I was a high school dropout, but managed to get my high school diploma while incarcerated. I learned a lot about myself during that period of time. Primarily, despite what obstacles that I created for myself, I could find a path to succeed in life. Last year, I transitioned out of a public employee position after 6.5 years. To be a part of the inmate firefighting program was an honor and a privilege. As I stand here today in support of my brothers and sisters who are in prison and coming home, I would like to provide a quote from an inspirational quote that was done by a leading correctional researcher on motivation, Dr. William R. Miller. Dr. Miller writes, "People make their best efforts to change when the motivation comes from within and maintaining one's autonomy of choice. The notion that people ultimately decide for themselves whether they will change a given behavior is a universal and important attribute of being human." As these young parolees that would be part of this center, the proposed project to convert CAL FIRE's Ventura CC camp in the unincorporated area into a training facility that would host the parolees is a notable, if not historic, project that aligns, that I believe, with the mission of CDCR to enhance public safety through safe and secure incarceration of offenders, effective parole supervision, and rehabilitation strategies to successfully reintegrate offenders into our communities. And in this case, the Camarillo community in Ventura County. I understand public sentiments about ex-felons, parolees residing in their community. I've lived with the stigma. In my own community, in the city of Whittier, there's a lot of talk, a lot of issues with what's going on right now, and parolees coming home to my city. However, this training center that I feel that that's going to be staffed with professionals, will provide life skills trainings, reentry and counseling services, and job placement assistance, will certainly be no halfway house. I paroled to a halfway house out of fire camp back in 1995. We had one agent on site. We had a job developer who really didn't really help as much as us parolees who directed our ways to employment agencies to secure employment. Today, as I stand here, the evidence of the people that we heard speak here, from particularly ARC, is evidence that when systems make an effort to aid in the trajectory of people whose lives has intersected with the California criminal justice system, this proposed training center will contribute to public safety, as this will be an effective rehabilitation strategy that will contribute to the successful reintegration of the participants. And thank you for listening.
Okay, thank you. The next speaker, Brian Morris.
Good evening. Just so we have it straight, was it Mr. Diaz? You made the statement that there would not be a requirement of citizenship for the program.
No, there would be no screening for citizenship. I didn't make that statement, but that's the stance.
I couldn't see behind that.
Oh, no problem.
So it's not a requirement to be a citizen.
No, they would be pulled from the fire camp population.
Okay, well, anyway, I don't really know what all that means either. 18 years ago, when I returned to California, you would not have convinced me that it would be necessary for me to be standing up here tonight to reject a governor's plan to dump 80 paroled felons into our community so we as taxpayers can finance their training as firefighters. but here I am. I'm not a part of a coalition. I'm troubled about this proposal in many ways. There are many young men who dream to be a fireman in this community. They work hard to complete the required education and at above average levels, grade levels. They keep their bodies fit to meet the physical requirements. They respect their neighbors and they keep out of trouble because of their pride. They end up on a long waiting list and they place in limbo alternative career choices by working entry-level jobs just so they can be available when the call comes. When a firefighting position opens, who will get the call? After Sacramento's influence is most assuredly applied to the fire department, the smart money is on the paroled felons getting the call and securing the job, and I think that was already almost stated by Chief Ken Kimlott by leveling the playing field. The felon turned to crime as a profession, and he had no concern for his fellow citizens nor the laws he was required to obey. When the criminal career fell short, resulting in prison, the citizens rewarded him with a free education and a firefighter career. Are we expected to believe these trainees will be cured of crime and not of any danger to our community? That's why they need so many parole officers, which we all know will be off-duty or short-handed when the first robbery, stabbing, rape, DUI accident, and etc. occurs. It's for sure we'll be quick to blame the corrections officers for the crime and not the perpetrator. Many young men's dreams to be a firefighter will be shattered. The paroled felons are given and rewarded with a free education and firefighters' job for disrespecting their community. In how many firefighters' celebrations and obituaries have you not heard the firefighter genuinely respected, protected, supported, and loved his community? Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker, I believe this is Michelle Garcia. I'm going to, while you're coming up, ask another question that I think, on a white card, that I think can be answered simply. There's first a statement. There are a lot of people here in our community who would like to be in a program like this. How we get outsourced in our community to fill these jobs. I hope to fill these jobs, if you have been good, why not help these people first? And then the questions are, there are two questions. Why not offer the training to people who live here? And second, with no guarantees of a job at the end of the program, why do this?
So I'll just start off with we are offering the jobs to individuals who are not 20, as Amy indicated, 20 members of the California Conservation Corps will have the opportunity to go through this with each cycle. So we're opening up this opportunity to others. Those can be folks that have enrolled here through the community who are part of the Camarillo CCC Center or from the other fire centers that are around the state. And again, the governor's proposal, as far as the second part of that, this is to provide opportunity. Yeah, at the end of the day, firefighting jobs are very competitive and challenging to get. And my point being is that someone indicated earlier that 40% of firefighters who apply get jobs ultimately. Very much could be true. What do the other 60% do? And it's no different for the participants, the expectation of this program. We don't expect that every single person going through this program is going to be successful in getting a firefighting job. And that's something that's going to be made very clear from the day they're recruited out of our conservation camp program, that there's no guarantee. They have to be willing to put an effort in. It's what they learn along the way and the other opportunities and other jobs that present themselves as they go. Because at the end of the day, we don't want them to recidivate. We want to take advantage of all the hard work and commitment they made to the state, protecting lives and property and resources. Yes, these were incarcerated felons, but many have lost their lives fighting fires and protecting homes, right alongside the free firefighters, the other firefighters. So they've been paying their debt to society. At the end of the day, they're going to be leveling the playing field, so they will have to compete, get the 40% of the jobs just like anybody else, or less or more, depending on how they perform and do. So thank you.
Okay. Michelle Garcia.
Hi, thank you for allowing me this opportunity. My name is Michelle Garcia, and I have lived in Camarillo since the 1970s when my dad was stationed here to Port Hueneme. We resided in Navy housing, where I attended Las Posas Elementary School, followed by Monte Vista Junior High and Camarillo High School. I have resided here ever since. I have 4 children. I'm married to a man who has owned a business in this city for 19 years. And I have a track star junior at Camarillo High School to this day. But I also was arrested by this county in March 2006, and I was sentenced to 10 years and 4 months in prison. I spent my last year and a half in fire camp in Malibu. I like to say I paroled from Malibu, California. I cannot even begin to tell you how much this program helped me, emotionally as well as physically. Maybe too much physically. I was at camp, and I was able to rebuild some of my self-esteem, my relationship with my husband, their children, and slowly introduce myself back to society. The frequent family visits, more relaxed environment, less threatening atmosphere, and made it easier to feel more like a family gathering versus the typical prison school structure. The foremen and captains also played a vital part in making a difference in my rehabilitation. They treated us like humans rather than numbers. We were encouraged, praised, and disciplined with respect. I never felt less than in their presence, and they genuinely cared about me and my future, even if I had no desire to be a firefighter. Today, nearly 7 years later of being home, I work for an organization called Defy Ventures, who goes into the prisons and educates and transforms people's lives. Prior to that, I was a regional coordinator for Get on the Bus, where I took children to see their mothers and fathers in prison for Mother's Day and Father's Day. I have made this my life mission and my heart's desire to help and continue to help people in my position. And lastly, it saddens my heart to hear Mr. Morgan, you say that this is the wrong place. When we sit together every week in church that preaches about how we're to love everybody, and I just wonder if I'm in the wrong place there too. Thank you for allowing me to share.
Next speaker is Ken, I think it's Matard. I'm sorry if I mispronounced it.
Good evening, everyone. I'm a transplant from Northern California, and we had a fire camp situation up there as well, as some of you on the dais may be aware of. What bothers me the most about this conversation today, I don't know if the fire camp is a good idea or a bad idea. I don't know if having parolees in our neighborhood is a good idea or a bad idea. What bothers me the most is that this city and this county it's prided itself on inclusion, and it's prided itself on allowing people to live here and be who they are, except for this. You can have what you want, just not in my backyard, right? Nobody has said the fire camp is a bad idea. Nobody has said ARC is a bad idea. Nobody has said the CCC is a bad idea. They've all said it's a great idea, just not here. If not here, where? Because the next county is going to say, it's a great idea, but just not here. And the next county is going to say, it's a great idea, but just not here. And for those of you who are concerned about parolees and convicts and whatever, I got news for you. Just because they're not in a fire camp doesn't mean they're not in your town, right? Any night of this week, you can go to any church. You can go to several locations, and you'll find a 12-step meeting. I know, I go, right? 23 years sober. I didn't get there because I woke up one day and went, I should go. It was a bad day, right? People in that facility, in that location, those meetings are your neighbors, they're your friends, they're your teachers, they're your brothers, your sisters, your boyfriends, your girlfriends, and your children. They've made mistakes. They may not have gotten caught or gone to the extreme that some of our friends in the room have, but they've still made mistakes. We still give them the opportunity to turn their lives around. Some of them are in this room. Some of them hold extreme positions. Some of them are high up in the food chain, if you will, and some of us aren't. We're just not. I work for the state. If I really wanted to, I could name names and tell you a lot of people about a lot of things, but I can't do that. Right? I see most of you every day. It's who I work for. DUIs are common. Right? That's a felony. But we don't hold them to the same. They went in, they did their time, they came back home, and they went on with their lives. Right? And we don't want a fire camp here. I don't know if it's a good idea or a bad idea, like I said. I don't know if having them on our community is a good idea or a bad idea. But there are fellows and ladies who have paroled out of prison who live next door to you as it is now. Why are we discriminating against this particular group? That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a white card, and it had other questions that have been answered. But one of the questions is, why didn't CAL FIRE consider putting this program at an already available facility in Amador County or at the recently closed youth fire camp near Paso Robles?
We looked statewide, tried to find the best fit for a number of reasons. It was the ability to logistically support. Having this program in a rural area can create significant challenges in programming and providing the tools necessary to get the support necessary to get it done. Ultimately, this was the site that was selected.
John, is it Gargon?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Okay.
What was the criteria that was used to select this location?
Thank you. If you're going to speak, sir, you'll have to come to the microphone. We're being televised, and the people at home like to hear too. Okay, so we've got your card. Annie Sharker? Smarter. Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, I don't know anything about this. My name's Annie Smarker. I live up the street, 22 years, raised all my kids here. Love this community, feel very safe, not threatened by anything, leave my windows and doors and cars open, never had a problem. I'm concerned about, I don't know how close the parolees are to the young women in some facility that are, what, in a detention center? Is that what it is nearby? I don't know the facts, so.
Would you like somebody to explain what there are 3 facilities on this piece of state property now.
It's not my program, but I can tell you. So it's 0.2 miles from where the fire camp is to where the California Conservation Corps. That's not a detention facility. It's a great program for kids 18 through 25. But there are, I think there's the director.
24 females at that facility.
Yeah, and then how many males?
About 180.
Yeah, so they're at the.
No,
I'm talking about CCC.
CCC, okay.
So how many are at CCC?
Let her explain.
We have 59 males right now and 39 females, but it's a fluid program, so it changes, but that's the current ratio.
But I think explain everything that's on that large piece of property, please. I mean, there's more than just the CCC camp, and she was asking, I think, about something else.
Do you know it all?
No. Kind of how close are the fire parolees?
This is the California Conservation Corps.
That is the California Conservation Corps.
Almost 0.3 miles from here to here. This is the current fire camp that houses in-custody inmates that will be converted. This is the Department of Juvenile Justice facility that Undersecretary just talked about, houses 185, and then all the female juvenile offenders within the state.
Correct.
This is a fenced facility. It separates the women's housing and schooling is in here. Fire camp would be here. This is CCC, which is an open facility where the young people there that are getting training, again, a great program, are free to come and go as they please.
But the other people are not. The young women in the they're locked in and
no.
They're within the fenced
okay.
But there are young women in
the. There's no commingling there.
Yeah, but there are 18 to 25-year-old women in this CCC facility.
And it's not a locked facility. It's kind of confusing because of the different parts, but
Just worried about their safety, just concerned about their safety. And I think you kind of answered it by saying there are no sex offenders in the program, period, right?
Correct.
Thank you.
Martha Garcia. I'm going to try to speed things up a little bit because these folks have to fly back to Sacramento tonight. So the next one is Alejandro Amayo Arroyo. Anyway, please.
Hi, my name is Martha.
Pull it down and yeah.
Hi, good evening. My name is Martha, and I am a member also of the Anti-Recidivism Coalition. Since my incarceration, for a while, I was part of a fire crew out of Homeboy Industries. I believe that by you guys opening up this training center, it would not be a challenge. It would be a tool for formerly incarcerated inmates so that we can obtain well-respected job training careers. And also, you know, I believe that the positive effect of it would be that, yeah, you'll have different members from throughout the area come into your community, but I believe that it'll create a domino effect to where once they've completed their 18-month program, they are going to go back home throughout California, throughout the state of California, and hopefully, you know, that, you know, implement a positive impact in their communities as well, which will alleviate also a lot of reoffending and public assistance. You know, having to reoffend and having to depend on public assistance. I also struggle with, you know, trying to come back, and so these programs have helped me in the past. To continue to become, you know, maintain being a productive, positive citizen. And so far, I'm still out. You know, I haven't offended. And so I hope you consider having this training center here in Camarillo. Thank you for your time.
Okay. Alejandro. It looks like a Mayo. You're going to tell me how wrong I am. Arroyo? I had two choices, whether it was an M or two R's. Thank you.
My name is Alejandro Arroyo. How's everyone doing? I'm part of the ARC program, and I want to kind of share my experience of when I was in fire camp in 2012 to 2014, which I paroled in Norco, which is the only camp in California that's inside of a prison. I love the experience that I had there. It made me get myself back together. And I remember when I was in a fire it was in, I think it was in San Diego, where this helpless lady came up to us in her house. There was all the bushes around her house were burning, and she came up to us. And she looked at us and she said, "Can you please save our home?" And I looked at my captain and I said, "We need to save this home," because something in me just told me that we had to save that home. And at the end of the day, when we were able to save that home, I felt good about myself. But what really made me feel good is when she came up to me, she didn't look at me as an inmate or a firefighter or anything. She just looked at me as a human being that can help another human being. And that made me feel good. And I hope that Camarillo, the city of Camarillo, would allow this to happen, because, you know, we all need this opportunity. And if you could just give us that one opportunity, I guarantee you that you won't regret it. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Lydia Tully-Roos.
Good evening. I worked for several years at a federal prison as one of the staff psychologists. So I'm all for rehabilitation, working with the prisoners hand in hand, helping them. It was a Terminal Island Federal Prison in Los Angeles. There are certain offenders that cannot be rehabilitated, as you probably know. I'm just curious about the inmates that will be coming into this program, what types of offenses they have committed. Because you say there's no violent offenders, there are lots of different kinds of offense that could also be considered violent, like armed robbery, kidnapping. Any of those, what's the criteria that you're screening these people? What types of offenses are they?
I think to best answer that, we have to work backwards in who we let into the prison camps themselves outside of the campers talking about here. Mm-hmm. Of the 129,000 inmates in our population, we have about 3,500 that are in fire camps. We have 39 camps in 29 counties in California. And they go through the most strictest criteria that we take a look at, and the crimes that are excluded from them are our sex offenses, are our escapes with force. We do take a strict criterion. We take a look at inmate disciplinary. We take a look at the crimes that they commit and do they pose a risk to the community. And that's really based on what we read in the case factors and the crimes that they've committed and how they've comported themselves before we even put them out into a less secure facility like a fire camp like you currently have here in Camarillo, right here in Ventura.
Right. I guess I know a lot of concern that people who live in, I live in Camarillo, I grew up here. While it's wonderful to see people coming through the program and being successful, I think that's absolutely fabulous and kudos. And we want, obviously, we want that to happen. I guess a concern that I have, I don't want to speak for everybody else, is perhaps some of the parolees that are not successful in the program. Where will they be living? And perhaps would they be maybe reoffending in the community? That's a concern. Having recently, a year or 2 years ago, Louisa and I were both victims of a break-in and not far from this facility. So these are concerns, real concerns that people have in the community. And then there's the other side of it of people wanting to go through the program too. So we're just wanting to understand the population that's going to be going through this program and the types of people that are excluded and included in this program.
Part of the selection process for this 80, like I spoke, we're talking about 2% of the total population. And out of that 2% of the in-prison camp population, we're looking for the best of the best inmates. So these are they're driving trucks, they're on chainsaws, they're out leading their crews, leading firefighting crews in communities throughout the state. And to answer your question, if there are concerns, if an individual fails this program, they're gone. They go back to the county of last legal residence where they came from, and that's where parole comes in. The parole supervision that's on site, if we have someone test positive for drugs, if we have someone who's not comporting themselves in a way that's conducive to this program, they go back to their communities. The county of last legal residence, that's where they're going to go.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. David Marin.
Thank you. Before I begin, or as I begin, I want to just take a moment. I believe in redemption. It's been heartwarming to hear the stories of the various people that have gone through. I know we're not allowed to applaud, but if we could, I would give them all a round of applause that they've turned their lives around, and hope that they continue to be great participants in our society and contribute everywhere. What I feel bad about is that we aren't able to help more. The way I understand this program, about several $1 million a year will be spent to educate 20 students. They'll go on to become firefighters. It'll be rotating. Why are we not spending that kind of money to get more students taken care of? It doesn't have, they're parolees. They're free to be anywhere. Why are we not having a high-tech kind of educational facility near major markets or here, wherever, they could be anywhere, that is going to serve them better? I think the system is a colossal waste of money, and as a taxpayer, I'm offended that we are not spending more so that there could be tons of these people who have gone through and now have opportunities to participate. As was pointed out earlier, our businesses need more workers. We have a 4% unemployment rate. Where are we going to get the workers for the future? If you're offering this program with this much taxpayer money, much of that comes from businesses, why are you not spending it on something much more productive, much more beneficial? Chief Pimlott, I'll assume that you agree that the Legislative Analyst's Office is an independent, neutral organization. And as it says here, they state, we recommend that the legislature reject the governor's proposal to convert the existing Ventura Conservation Camp for inmates. I'm perplexed why you would not listen to that group. I obviously believe that there must be something else at play. The only thing I can think of is that what you're really doing here is creating a pipeline so you will be able to have some young people who are parolees go into the workforce, probably so that you won't have to pay as much as if you paid competitively to those people who didn't come from your camp. I think it's great. I agree with the people that have spoken from ARC saying this would be a great program. I think it would be even better, though, if you spent your money wisely and didn't fritter it away on this colossal, monumental waste for just 20 people a year. We should be turning 100 to 200 young people a year into productive members of society, just like these here. And I would hope that you would go back and rethink this plan, not because Camarillo is afraid of students. I don't think they're going to be marauding across the parkland from over there. They're all good people. You're screening them. You've said that yourself. But this is why people in the non-public arena are so appalled when we see this waste of money. Mr. Tremblay mentioned an article in the Mercury newspaper. I would predict in 2 to 3 years there'll be an article from some nationwide columnist that says California, those wacky people, there they go again, spending $8 million a year to educate 20 people. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Just one correction. It's 80 people every 18 months. Is that correct? That's correct. Okay. Mike de los Santos.
Thank you for allowing me to speak to you today. Unfortunately, I was not prepared to do this, but there's a couple of things that I just haven't heard people talk about. And I do applaud the young men and women that went through those programs and became very viable citizens. I have no problem if they were my neighbors. But unfortunately, the reality is the majority of the ones that come through are not going to turn out like these young men and women. The chief should know how many people are coming out of fire camp now because that camp has been there for a couple, 3 years, and what the recidivism rate is. What would that be of those people that went through your program at fire camp?
I don't have, CAL FIRE doesn't have specific numbers on recidivism. I would defer to CDCR. Again, specifically, we don't have that number. I don't. I can get that for you, though.
One other comment that you made, Chief, and I totally agree with you. The people that go into that program are, in fact, the best of the best. And that's why we have these young individuals here. But not all of them turn out like them. I was at a meeting with CAL FIRE here 2 or 3 years ago when they told us about this fire camp. Not really that they were thinking about putting it there, that, hey, this is what's going to happen, just be aware of it. I was specifically told there would be no violent offenders at that camp. And this was a large group meeting. Last year, there was an escape from that camp. Turns out, at least per the paper, said that this individual that escaped or walked away, however you want to term it, was a carjacking suspect. Last I've heard that was, in fact, a violent offense. Additionally, the cost, and we have already talked about the cost. It's absurd to think that we're spending that kind of money. We could, in fact, do a lot better job taking that money ahead of time and putting it in the community where we need to have, the kids taken care of before they get to that point. Secondly, the California Conservation Corps, they're there. They do a great job. They're allowed to come and go, obviously. They do, in fact, loiter in the area. I come through that at all times of the day and night. and I see them walking in the neighborhood. No problem. They're not creating an issue for us. However, is this halfway house, basically, are they going to be coming and going? Usually halfway houses are 5 to 8 individuals. You're talking about 80 people at a large group of parolees. So anyway, that's something I wanted to put out there. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay. Jason Croft.
Hello. I don't have any special experience or degrees in this particular area of discussion. I'm just a Camarillo resident. I've lived here for 48 years. And I'm generally pretty hard-nosed on crime. I like our safe little city. But I'm here in support of this camp. I have seen the miracle of rehabilitation. I've seen the difference in people more recently at church, in people who have gone through programs like this, and it's completely changed their lives. They may not become firefighters when they graduate from this, but I think what they will leave with is a confidence and a pride, and maybe more confidence to go out and get a job in some other field, or to spend the money that they're going to earn there to further their education. I have confidence in our Sheriff's Department. I think Sheriff Dean and his department do a great job keeping our community safe. And I think that the gentleman from the Department of Probation is probably a very capable individual who would oversee these people very well. I'm a little shocked at the opposition from the City Council and from some of my fellow citizens, only in that I've been in Camarillo all my life. I've raised my family here because of the type of community that it is. It's a loving community, it's a welcoming community, it's a happy community. We have great neighborhoods, great schools, and great churches. We have tons of churches, some of which I've attended services at. And in all those services, I've never heard a message that says, we should help people, just not here. Or, I really want to see people do better, but we'll let somebody else handle that for us. Some of the misconceptions that I'm hearing in this meeting, they're talking like there are going to be violent felons released into our community, barely supervised. These women in this facility next door, they're suddenly in danger. People are paroled into this county all the time. If they've committed their crimes and they go and serve their sentence, they get paroled into this back into this county, don't they? We have criminals who haven't been caught yet in this county. There's articles every day in the paper of far more dangerous criminals wandering around, human trafficking, the opioid epidemic. There's a lot going on in this county where people aren't being channeled and they aren't being trained. These people are signing up for a program, wanting to be in a program to get a better life, maybe an opportunity for themselves. And I can't imagine why we wouldn't support that here in Camarillo. Thank you.
Scott Wanick. B-U-O-N-I-C-K.
Oh, you're so close. Budnick. The D, I made the D look like an O. My fault, not yours.
Sorry.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. I'm Scott Budnick. I'm the president and founder of ARC. Some of the men and women you've heard from today. I've also been volunteering in that juvenile justice facility for the last 2 decades, and I absolutely love your city. I'm getting married in Ojai. I love your county, and I love your sheriff. You know I do. The folks you're hearing from today are the types of folks that are going to be in this camp. I know from my discussions with everyone on the panel, the screening is going to be rigorous. The people that are coming into this camp are going to be recommended by their fire captains. They're going to be screened for years while in the facilities. The folks that are coming out are going to be the folks that are talking to you today. One of the first kids I met in this DJJ facility got out with the support and help of mentors, like many of the people in this room. He was able to go to community college and then university, and then to med school, and he's now a radiologist at UC Irvine. The bar is set very high. Mentorship is crucial, and I really see this as a program that can actually enhance this community not a program that is actually going to put the community at risk. To be an ARC member, you have to be crime-free, gang-free, drug-free, in school and working and willing to be of service, and that service part is crucial to what we do. We're in the community, in all of these various communities every day doing volunteer work. You will see that happening in your community if this goes forward. I work closely with all the 18 to 25-year-olds that are in the fire camp. Many of them came here and served and fought the Thomas Fire. They risked their lives for a few cents an hour, did incredible work, and I really think they should have the ability when they get released to obtain a job in this field. And this should be happening here in Ventura because, like the previous speaker said, if we try to take it somewhere else, we're going to be sitting in another community doing these types of meetings. For you fiscal conservatives, to incarcerate one kid a year in this facility, it costs $225,000 a year with a 7 out of 10 failure rate. There's no company in the world that wouldn't be bankrupt if 7 out of 10's products failed at $225,000. In our programs, in our housing programs, recidivism's under 5%. In our job training programs, in our union training programs, our recidivism's under 3%. When you combine housing and job training, our recidivism rate is under 1%. That is why Newt Gingrich, Grover Norquist, the Koch brothers fund our organization as well as many progressive groups. And it's why they are supportive of these types of programs, giving people vocational skills and training to change their lives and make their communities better. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry about not being able to read, but it still looks like an O to me. Javier Edwards.
How you guys doing today? My name is Xavier Edwards Bradley.
Xavier, okay.
All right. I was paroled from, actually, let me go back. I'm an ARC member. I was paroled from Pine Grove, which is in Northern California. This is the only youth camp left. It's the only youth camp left. I just want to share my experience, what I had in that youth camp. When I first got to the youth camp, I was doing the hikes. I was like, man, what I got myself into. But then when I got on my first fire, it was just like, okay, this is hard work, determination, and everything that I had to do to get to where I was at today. Unfortunately, I had tore my meniscus on the fire. So they put me in a warehouse. But by me getting into this warehouse, I have the opportunity to learn every power tool, hand tool, got a chance to learn how to operate a forklift, build stuff, the basics of construction. And thanks to Cal Fire, 3 days after I was released, I was able to get a job working in a warehouse. This is coming from an individual that was 15 at the time when I was incarcerated, and I was 20 years old when I got released back to society. Had no work experience only until I got into fire camp, and it was just a blessing. So I just want to tell you guys, this is the opportunity coming from, the youth perspective. People really love fighting fires. People love going out there, giving back to their communities and seeing the smiles on their face when you, serving people and helping them, saving their homes. This is people that had homes stacked for, so long, and we just gave back, man, and that was, a thing. So thank you for having me.
Okay. I know a lot of you came from a long distance. We have a lot of cards here. I'm not going to be able to get through them all because the CAL FIRE people told me, and all of you, I guess, told me you have to leave at 9. Is that correct? Okay. And I can't read that clock up there. The glare is much too bright.
10 to 9.
9. So we have 10 minutes. And I know a lot of you came from far away to talk to us, but we had this meeting so we can find out what the people in this area think. So is there any, don't have addresses on a lot of these cards. Is there anybody who's local who would like to speak and turn in a card? Please come up, state your name, I'll pull out your card, and okay, we'll get you in a minute.
My name is Roman Krupa. I was transferred to Camarillo in '94 and I live here since. Somebody before me said that the high rate of recidivism is because of the failure of rehabilitation. If we're going to set up people for failure, teaching them only one skill, It's setting up them for failure. So according to the statistics, out of 80, 56 will reoffend within 3 years, and 23 will reoffend within first 6 months. Proximity of this facility to schools, senior living, community centers, and so on, I don't think this location is correct. Place it somewhere where there will be less risk. Thank you.
Okay. The young lady in the green or teal blouse. Yes. Come on over, okay?
All right, let's start that clock. Okay, my name's Heather Anderson. It's so wonderful to meet you. Thank you so much for being here and taking the time with us today. I live in Ventura County. To start off, I want to make sure that I identify with a number of people in this room. I have actually been on both sides.
You have to speak into the microphone,
Sorry,
please.
I keep thinking I have a loud enough voice. I want to make sure that I emphasize where I come from. So if you had asked me 5 years ago if I thought this was a great program, literally days after my mother was murdered, I would say, oh my gosh, everybody that goes to jail deserves to be there. And I would have a very one-sided view. Since that moment, since that time, I've had 5 years and a number of things happened to me in that time. One of those things that I had a chance to work with other families that had lost loved ones suddenly in that fashion. And have a chance to be able to see how close each of us are to being 2 steps away from the very people that are actually within prison. And so here we are in this place and in this time where we have a chance to actually be able to make a difference. And here, me, of all people, it doesn't seem like I'd be the person that would be here at the podium. But I've had a chance not only through speaking with other families and having a chance to actually get to know people that are within the system, that I've decided to get a second master's in sociology. I'm currently conducting a study on the very reentry services that are available for female inmate firefighters from Camp 13 to be able to understand what actually is entailed within their lived experience, what's actually happening when they leave prison, and how we as a community can help support them in any possible way that we can. And my journey has been one that has been fraught at the very beginning with a lot of doubt. But through a number of different experiences where I've had a chance to work with other people that have either gone through incarceration or have come out of incarceration, I'm extremely proud to be able to do this study. I'm working with California State University Northridge, also California Lutheran University. And right now, my big question for you is, are you actually having inmate firefighters inform that process for the transitional programming? Are they a part of the actual development of the program? We haven't talked about that at all in this process. Like, are they actually a part of that system to be able to inform it so that we know that their lived experience is actually helping us to develop a program that addresses their actual needs? That's my biggest question for you today.
Well, I can, the details are really being worked out. The training for the firefighters are really going to be the standard of the current firefighter that the communities have. But as far as polling the current inmate population in our 39 fire camps, there is over a 50% interest rate, and input is coming in from those firefighters assisting us in what this program should look like and could look like.
That's wonderful. At the same time, is there a chance that I could talk with someone, because my own study is also going on, from people that have left the program and what their lived experience has actually been after they have left it? And I'd love to be able to talk with someone, but that could be something I could
If you stay later, we'll get you their contact information.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, 2 more speakers over here, and then the sheriff, and that's it. So the young lady had her hand up next. Yes.
All right. My name is Sarah Vidari, and I live in Camarillo. I'm a college student, and I'm working on going into law school so that I can make a difference in my community as a citizen of the United States and as a citizen of the Ventura County community. I also want to say that like what we're trying to do, we want to improve people's lives, their livelihood, and get them back and rehabilitated, having their lives, you know, being able to get jobs, being able to sustain themselves and hold themselves up into the community again, reintegrating smoothly. So this is a pilot program, so it has not been tested. As far as the timeline, it's concerning to me. As far as the timeline of implementation of this program, I feel like if we're going to service our, you know, our convicts over here that are trying to get back on their feet, that we need to help, that we need rehabilitation over in here so that they can become contributing members to society, is the timeline of February to June to work out this program, to work out the details. I feel like that might be doing a disservice to these people, to these young men and women. The cost of living is high over here. And we are giving them stipends to be able to live here, giving them room and board, but we're taking them out of their context of where they came from, their families. Where's the support for them? That's my main concern, is support. We need to support them as a team. We want to build them skills, but in such a small skill set as firefighting, it is going to instill them in all of the core values, such as integrity, hard work, all of that stuff, but it's limiting in a way as well. I feel like if we provide education, I know we're doing our GEDs, but even higher education. Me as a college student, I know that I'm going to have to compete very hard in every field that I enter into, regardless of my status, and I've never been convicted, so I can't imagine what they're going through. And the fact that we're just limiting them to these certain aspects, we're not actually helping them to reach their goals and their priorities, is kind of concerning to me as well. We need to help them with their goals and their priorities, not just limiting them to this field. And I feel as though if we can branch out and expand into what they're passionate about, I feel like that passion will drive them to be a better citizen, to not recommit in the ways of crime or whatnot, to have you. So I just want to take a step back. I feel like as though if we should revise the program, or at least take the time for their sake to really look at it and really implement it in a way that it's not going to fail. Because at this point, I feel like it's just too hasty, and we just need to give it thought, honestly. I think it's a great program as far as that goes. I think there should be revisions, and revising this is going to help the community.
Thank you. Okay, the gentleman over here.
My name is Mark McQuillan.
Can you just pull that up, please, the mic?
Sure.
Thank you.
My name is Mark McQuillan, and I live in Camarillo. My concerns are kind of numerous here. Number one, 5% of 80 is 4, and I think 4 is too many for the recidivism. The other concern I have is, in the past, we've faced this issue, and there was a problem with providing the water supply to this facility. I don't know if that's still an issue. The other problem that we have is that we have some very nice neighborhoods adjacent to this facility, and we're concerned about the reduction in property values. A couple of other things that I have related to this is that I feel like these people should be near their family for support, and that they should have a school nearby, because obviously school is essential for getting the skills that are needed to advance at jobs. The other thing is, I know a lot of people who have entered the fire department, and they've gone through all kinds of hoops to try to get that job. So I don't think this is a program that is going to fundamentally find work for these people. I myself, as an engineer, I started as a janitor, and I worked a lot of jobs in between, so I know how you work your way up the ladder. And it's by trying hard and having dedication to your subject. I would say the jobs that are available today, which have been mentioned elsewhere, are starting at, say, food prep or land and structure maintenance, working up towards a factory job, and possibly computer jobs. We see a lot going on with Facebook and their ability to handle their company. I think something like this would be better located in a city with those facilities and those job training abilities. These are probably young people who are smart with technology. They should be doing something that's applicable to the future. I don't think firefighting is an open industry. Clearly impacted. You see the lines of people trying to get in. I've obviously run out of time.
You have one more minute.
I also suggest, like I said, that they be near wherever their families are. For example, maybe in Sacramento, if a lot of people came from there, the government buildings could supply plenty of maintenance, property, food service, or security jobs that would be equal introductory training. The other thing is the wages. I find the cost of this just outlandish. The legislative analyst came out against this program. And I think that to be in this program, it seems like you should start at the beginning on what real life would be like, which is that you get a salary, probably minimum wage, and that you use that to pay for your rent, your food, and other items, you know, cell phone, whatever your needs are. So I think those are important points. The other thing I have is what are these felonies? I haven't seen a list of that compared to the people who are in the current program.
Thank you, Mr. McClellan. I'm sorry.
I have 3 more questions.
Okay, we're going to turn it over to the sheriff, and that'll be it.
Let me clarify, I don't love Mr. Butnick. I do like him. He is a true believer. Mr. Butnick and I are both governor appointees to the State Board of Community Corrections, and we work together all the time. He knows I'm a believer in programs. He knows I'm a believer in rehabilitation, and we have programs all over this county as a part of it. My CAL FIRE and CDCR partners know exactly how I feel about this camp. In private meetings, I'm not once to mince words, and I've shared with them my feelings on it. I stood and got yelled at by my neighbors because I live in this neighborhood for the repopulation of that fire camp, because I thought it was a safe, good program to take place. I was there with CDCR, I was there with CAL FIRE, and yes, we've, as Mr. De Los Santos mentioned, we've had 2 or 3 walkaways, generally with walkaways to the parolees. They leave the area because they all want to go back home, and the majority of them are from Los Angeles, as most of these people would be. I think this is a terrible, ill-conceived waste of taxpayer dollars. It is so wonderful to see how well everyone has done, and that speaks to the incredible programs like ARC. It talks to the great programs that CDCR has now. It talks to the success of the current fire camps, because these people, while they're in custody, participate in these fire camps. To spend $8 million a year for an ongoing program when the chance of employment is so low, to me, is an abomination, and that's why I've been opposed to it. Second opposition I have to it is for the safety, and not for the safety of the neighborhoods. I live in the neighborhood. I'm not worried about some of the most violent offenders in the state are in the juvenile facility right there. And those that are in the CAL FIRE facility now are armed robbery and burglary, and there's violent offenders. But I have trust in CDCR that those people are being watched. My safety and concern, and they're not my people, they're your people, are for those CCC kids, 18 to 25-year-old young people who are, you know, great kids, and they're trying to make a life for themselves. And a month ago, we went out there to do a security survey for them because they have security concerns, because there is no security out there, and it's a wide open facility. And to put 80 parolees that close, and I appreciate Mr. Powers, and I know he will hold them accountable, but they're not in jail anymore. They're free to roam around, and as much as we would like to put them restricted, put them on electronic monitoring, they've served their time and they're out. And that's the second reason that I am strongly opposed to this. And I've talked to the governor personally on the phone. I've talked to his staff. I've been all the way up and down with the state staff, and I've heard their positions. I've heard all the positions. Scott and I have talked multiple times on the phone. And I don't think this fire camp concept is a good concept. Somebody said, the gentleman said he hadn't heard that this is a bad program. I think this is a bad program. I think this is a terrible
return on the dollar. There are so many programs that CDCR is doing now. If we took 50% of this money and train parolees in these skills that have an exponentially higher likelihood of employing them, I think they would be so much more successful than these people coming out trying to compete for these virtually impossible to get firefighter jobs. So, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Are there any final comments? I didn't make the 9 o'clock. I apologize, but do you have any final comment?
I would just say one thank you. We've been listening, and I don't know if we certainly will be able to follow up offline. If there's questions we didn't get answered, we would be happy to find a way to follow up on that.
And we do have this recorded, and we will find out. But and we will get you the list of the yellow cards. Can I say the comments and questions? But we can't do that tonight.
And again, thank you.
Thank you. So we will adjourn this meeting.